Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining 79 Consulting's webinar on how to prepare for a new release in NetSuite. My name is Daisy Morales. I'm the account executive for Trivana and 79 Consulting. Before we get started, I'd like to share a little bit of background information on 79 Consulting, which is a sister company of Trivana. 79 Consulting was created as a way to simplify our name to our clients. Many found it difficult to accurately pronounce Trivana, so our name, Trivana Consulting, was a bit of a tongue twister, so we came up with a new name for ease of use. We are launching our new name with our UK clients first, hence as to why this is the first time you're hearing about 79 Consulting. Now that that's out of the way, allow me to provide you some details as to who we are and what we do. Trivana as a company was founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm. In 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, our storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on SuiteApp.com. However, we continue to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite, Salesforce, and Workday clients through 79 Consulting. For those of you just joining, my name is Daisy Morales. I am the account executive for Trivana and 79 Consulting. As the account executive, I'm the point of contact for product demos, sales, and customer-facing questions, as well as the occasional webinar. Now, let me introduce my counterpart and today's speaker, Rebecca Narodog. Rebecca is our NetSuite principal architect with over 10 years of product experience on NetSuite, and more than that on the business side. She is uniquely qualified to assist our clients with solving their most challenging business processes. So let's take a quick second to go over a few things. First, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them to our chat box. We have a special member of our team answering all of our questions in real time. Secondly, we'll be asking a few poll questions throughout this time, and your responses are greatly appreciated and truly help us shape these webinars. So please answer if you can. And now, without further ado, let's get started. I'll go ahead and pass the mic along to Rebecca.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. During this webinar, we'll go over the new release process and highlight a few of the new release features. Twice a year, NetSuite rolls out major updates to its platform. These updates are called releases, and they affect NetSuite's entire customer base. NetSuite uses releases to introduce new features, enhancements, and to deprecate legacy features. All of this means that aspects of your NetSuite account could change significantly with a new release, and you must be prepared for the changes before they are released. In this webinar, we will show you what tools NetSuite provides to enable you to have a smooth upgrade and how best to leverage them. NetSuite upgrades its customer base in several batches, so an upgrade window can last for over a month. You can find out your account's planned upgrade date from the new release portlet on the home screen after logging in. If you don't see the new release portlet on your home page, you can add it by clicking on the Personalize dropdown and selecting the new release option.
Releases. Is it possible for me or my company to opt out of a new release?
Yeah, that's a frequently asked question, Daisy, and you can only opt out of a new release if you're on a dedicated NetSuite server, which is usually reserved for large enterprise customers.
Great. Thanks so much for answering.
Of course. And now moving on to discuss the release preview account. A release preview account is a copy of your production account, but on the soon-to-be released version. This is a free account that customers are expected to use to test their business flows and customizations before the next release. You must opt in to be granted a release preview account. So if you're an administrator, confirm it by going to Setup, Company, and navigate down to Release Preview on your production account. There you can click on the Request Release Preview button. The opt-in window for 2020.2 Release Preview opened on July 22nd.
So Rebecca, when will the release preview be available?
So it varies according to your account's upgrade date. You can see the Release Preview account's availability for your account on the Release Preview portlet.
Okay, I see. So one more question. Who can access the release preview account?
Sure. So anybody who has access to the production account will also have access to the Release Preview account. If you want to give an employee access, you do it in the usual way by giving login access to their employee record in the Release Preview account. If you need to grant access to multiple employees at once, use a CSV import. Once you are granted access to the Release Preview account, it will be available in your list of roles on the top right of the NetSuite screen. Look for the RP badge next to your account name. Pro tip, use a different color theme for the RP account so you don't mistake it for production. Here are a few things to note about your Release Preview account. First, it may be slower than the production account since it runs on different servers and hardware. If your searches time out on the Release Preview account, just reduce the dataset size you're using to test. Not everything is copied over from production. For example, DKIM settings. If you need the Release Preview account to send emails from your domain, you have to go through the process of setting up DKIM for the account. If you don't care that emails are sent from the default NetSuite domain, feel free to skip this step. Also, if you have a website, the domain is not copied over. You must set up a separate domain for testing. It is recommended that you set up a public domain so that your website can be tested on different devices. If you have token-based authentication or single sign-on mapping set up in production, they will not be copied over to the Release Preview account either. Scheduled scripts don't execute automatically in Release Preview accounts. You have to manually run them. Additionally, you must set email delivery preferences just as you would in a sandbox environment by going to Setup, Company Email, and then to Email Preferences. Only email addresses specified in the address list will receive emails sent from the Release Preview account. You may also choose to send emails to the logged-in user or not to send any email at all. By default, the Release Preview account will email the logged-in user, but it is recommended that you change this to a list of administrators or the team that owns the Release Preview testing process. Finally, credit card processing, alternative payment methods, and UPS, FedEx integrations only work in test mode, similar to sandbox environments. Now that you know your upgrade date and the availability of the Release Preview account, it is important to inform yourself on what new features are coming in the new release and which ones could affect you. A good place to start is NetSuite's Sneak Peek, which is a page that lists the feature highlights of the new release broken down by industry and vertical. It's a good place to understand new features relevant to you in a capsule form. If there are features you would like to learn more about, you can read through NetSuite's full release notes, which are available well ahead of a new release. NetSuite also publishes a series of videos under their new features previews page on Suite Answers, which can be accessed by clicking on the Training Resources tile on the new release portlet.
Rebecca, how do we find the new release notes?
On the new release portlet at the bottom, there's a link to a PDF file that you can download, or as always, you can find it in Suite Answers.
Thanks for clarifying where to find this information.
Sure. The next thing we're going to do is prepare for a testing plan. The aim should be to have your NetSuite users test your key business flows and ensure that they are working as expected. A few main aspects of your NetSuite account that you must test are business workflows. This does not include SuiteFlow workflows, but the business processes key to your business. Make a list of the critical task path your team follows to get their jobs done and document each process. Make a list of important daily tasks and list them in the test plan. Make sure that these flows are tested using the correct role and email, and that the results are consistent with those in production. Custom reports, queries, forms. You should list out all of the reports, workbooks, data sets, or forms that have been customized for your account, including custom record types, custom safe searches, and bulk operations such as billing, shipping, and fulfillments. If any reports or searches have formulas, make sure you pay close attention to them. Run the queries in both production and the release preview account and compare the results to make sure they are identical. You should review all custom records and fields and confirm that all add and delete functions are working as expected. Confirm that parent records are linked and that formula fields are working correctly. Check all KPIs and important dashboards. Test all custom workflows, especially the ones deployed on transactions and any that create records. If you have custom UIs created using Suitelets with custom HTML, review that the HTML works as expected. List out all SuiteScript deployments and test each one. You may need help from a SuiteScript developer if you don't have in-house capabilities. If you have SOAP, web service integrations, test those. Look for hard-coded URLs and make sure they are still valid. If any URLs need to be updated, do them in the release preview. A good example for this is data center URLs, which we will talk about in detail in a little while. We're almost there. You must also review Suite apps installed in your account, ensure that they have gone through the BFN new release testing process. NetSuite requires that Suite apps undergoing testing on every new release in order to maintain their BFN badge. And in case you're not aware, BFN stands for Built for NetSuite. If you have a web store, you will need to set up a new domain before you can test it in release preview. Finally, if you're an administrator, download NetSuite's testing plan and review the examples provided in it. You can then assign testing areas to the relevant person or team and review the results when testing is complete. The link to the test plan is mentioned at the end of this deck, which will be emailed to you after the webinar.
Rebecca, so what should I do if I find an issue?
Sure. So if you find a bug, you must log a case with NetSuite support immediately. You can do this by calling the support phone line or submitting a case online. You can find that information by going to Support, then Suite Answers, and clicking on the Contact Support by Phone or Contact Support Online buttons. They will investigate it and set a date for resolution based on the severity of the bug. If the new release contains a change that affects your process workflows, you are expected to update your process accordingly. For example, the full access role has been deprecated since 2019 and will be inactivated in 2020.2. If you have users that still use the full access role, make sure they are reassigned to another role. Also check that none of the Suite scripts on your account run on the full access role. If all this sounds overwhelming, you are not alone. It is a major undertaking, but it is essential to making sure your business is not disrupted by unexpected changes or issues in a new release. We frequently get requests from clients for assistance on testing and training on new release features. We now offer release testing services where we will put together a testing plan, make comprehensive lists of areas to be tested, and introduce teams to features available in the new series. Testing is usually a collaborative effort between our team and the clients, but a testing plan, once created, can be reused to a large extent over and over again. Now let's go through NetSuite's 2020.2 new features. Let's look at some of what the new release offers. Up until now, NetSuite only supported a single currency exchange rate. Going forward, you can store multiple currency exchange rates for a currency pair and date. This is a feature that must be enabled. If it is not, you will continue to only be able to support a single currency exchange rate. It is available only in NetSuite One World accounts after you enable the multiple currencies and intercompany framework features. You can define up to 3 active currency exchange rate types, including the default, which can be renamed but not deleted. NetSuite plans for regular maintenance windows for their customers, during which your account may face downtime or disruptions. Until now, you could not change the maintenance period your account was assigned. But as of 2020.2, NetSuite provides the ability to reschedule some of the planned maintenances. Over the next several releases, many maintenance types will be made available for rescheduling, starting with the Oracle Database Update Maintenance in 2020.2. When you receive a notification that your Oracle Database Update Maintenance has been scheduled, you can change the date and time of the maintenance if the original date and time do not work for your business needs. You can do this by going to Setup, Company, and navigating to Planned Maintenance Schedule. Previously, NetSuite domains were specific to the data center where your account was hosted. NetSuite domains are no longer specific to data centers. Instead, they are account-specific domains. For example, your file cabinet links used to begin with system.eu.2.netsuite.com or system.na1.netsuite.com, where EU2 and NA1 are references to data centers. But are now your domain is in the format of accountid.app.netsuite.com, where account ID is your NetSuite account. So if you have the old data center links hard-coded or referenced anywhere in your scripts, SOAP web services, online forms, or your website, make sure you update them before you are upgraded to 2020.2.
An impact on my account if I don't have integrations or a website? And what do I do if I don't know how to fix the URLs?
Sure, so that's a great question, Daisy. If you have any safe searches with a link embedded in the search, that would need to be updated. Also, if you use any online or marketing forms, those should be updated as well.
Thanks, Rebecca. So we're happy to help should you need assistance with your links or forms, and we'll post our contact information at the end of the presentation.
Thanks, Daisy. NetSuite saves any file uploaded to an expense report to a predefined user folder in the file cabinet. If a folder does not exist for a user, NetSuite creates one. The only people who can access an expense attachment file are the owner, the expense submitter, or an approved user of the NetSuite report. Account administrators can access the file directly through the file cabinet. There's a new migration tool available to migrate any existing expense attachments to the new file cabinet folder structure. The migration tool uses internal logic to search all expense reports for files that should be moved to the new predefined user folders. The migration tool can be scheduled to perform the migration immediately or at a future scheduled date. In a future release, customers will be required to use predefined user folders, and a migration will be scheduled for any customers who have not already moved their files. You're encouraged to migrate your files to the secure structure at your earliest convenience. As I mentioned earlier, the full access role has been deprecated since release 2019.1 and is targeted to be disabled as of 2021.1. In 2020.2, this role has been inactivated for all users and will no longer appear in the list of roles available for users who had this role assigned. The Core Administration Permissions checkbox is available on the role configuration page as an alternative to the full access role. The Core Administration Permissions can be assigned to any role as an extension to standard permission settings. Roles that have the checkbox enabled will get access to most of the functionality that was previously only available to the full access role.
Sorry to interrupt, Rebecca. Just a quick reminder that if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask them in our chat feature. We have a special member of our team answering your questions in real time. Okay, and now back to Rebecca.
Thanks, Daisy. You can now make multiple file cabinet files available to company-wide usage at a time by checking the Make All Files Available for Company-Wide Usage checkbox on the File Cabinet Advanced Add page. If you check the checkbox while uploading a zipped file, the files are extracted to the specified folder by default. The company-wide usage box is checked for each file. You can also use the handy new Make Files Available for Company-Wide Usage Mass Update to enable existing files for company-wide usage. Oh, we have this slide for you to show you where that checkbox lives. Sorry, Daisy. Moving on. This one's for the Suite Commerce users. If you can no longer embed the change password and change email address pages in an iframe, if you currently have one of these pages embedded in an iframe, they will no longer be rendered after the upgrade. If your website runs on Site Builder, Suite Commerce, or Suite Commerce Advanced, review your authentication logic to make sure that you don't have these pages embedded in an iframe. This is a minor but visually impactful. The design of the login page will change to display the login area in the center of the page with your company's logo above it. And now on to banking. If you use the expense reports feature, you can set up imports of corporate card changes for employee expense reports. To use this feature, you will need to correctly set up the format profile for automatic import of corporate card changes. You can use this new feature to validate expense reports daily, have corporate card charges automatically available in the system, and provide automatic email notification to employees about their newly imported charges. In 2020.2, you can automate the process of creating and matching account transactions with imported bank data. Auto-create rules enable you to automatically create and match deposits and charges for GL bank accounts, and charges and refunds for GL credit card accounts. This means that you will no longer need to manually enter an account transaction for every imported bank line that does not have a corresponding transaction in NetSuite. NetSuite 2020.2 introduces a new Suite People HR feature called Performance Management. With this feature, you can track and review employee performance using goal management and performance reviews. Employees can create and manage their goals in collaboration with their managers. Managers can approve and interact with the goals of their direct reports. Various performance metrics are provided to keep track of using real-time data. You can now define performance review questions and rating scales and create review templates. You can schedule performance reviews for individuals or groups of employees. If you pay your employees with the Suite People US payroll, they can use their Employee Center role to set up multiple direct deposit bank accounts, along with specifying a net account for their paychecks. Employees can add up to 9 secondary accounts and specify deposit amounts for these accounts. Employees can reorder the accounts to indicate deposit priority. In 2020.2, you can now define policies to limit the expenses your employees can enter. When creating an expense policy, you can set up start date and end date on which the policy is valid, define filters for the application of the policy, and determine how to apply the limit. You can find our top 10 picks for new release features on 2020.2 on our blog.
Thank you again for joining us this afternoon and participating in today's webinar. If you're not already following us on social, please do so. And lastly, here's our contact information should you have any questions regarding this webinar or any of our services or Suite apps. We have team members across the globe to help facilitate your needs.
Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.